On approach to the Gold Coast, a Far Eastern Air Transport Boeing 757 lines up with the wrong runway, one far too short for the jet. As the crew desperately tries to go around, the aircraft banks toward the control tower. In seconds, the situation spirals out of control. Will they make it out alive? Or will this flight end in tragedy? This is the story of the Far Eastern Air Transport 757. On 25 July 2012, a Far Eastern Air Transport flight FEA 534, a Boeing 757-200, departed Singapore for a routine service to Gold Coast, Queensland. The 757 was an impressive aircraft, powerful, versatile, and well-suited to regional flights across Asia-Pacific. But despite the airplane's capabilities, its arrival into the Gold Coast would be anything but ordinary. However, Gold Coast Airport has two runways. Runway 1432, the main 2,400-meter strip used by commercial jets, and runway 0624, a tiny 582-meter runway reserved for light aircraft. Confusing the two could be catastrophic. At the controls that day were two experienced aviators. The captain, aged 49, with more than 12,000 flight hours, most of them on the 757. The first officer, younger at 34, with around 3,000 hours total, but only recently certified for visual approaches at Gold Coast. As the flight neared its destination, they prepared for a visual landing on runway 14. But as the aircraft descended, the crew became fixated on a runway ahead of them, runway 06. From their vantage point, it appeared correctly aligned and suitable. In reality, it was the tiny general aviation strip, far too short to accommodate a 757. The captain called out, "Runway in sight." The first officer confirmed. Both believed they had the correct runway. But in the tower, controllers could see the error unfolding. The 757 descended dangerously close to the short runway. Finally, air traffic control issued a desperate call. "Far Eastern 534, go around immediately." The pilots shoved the throttles forward. Engines roared as the jet pulled up steeply, but in the rush to climb, the aircraft banked over the main runway. Right as a Virgin Australia 737 was rolling on takeoff, the two aircraft came within frightening proximity. Passengers on board the Virgin 737 could even see the 757 banking overhead. Inside the tower, controllers watched in disbelief as the jet closed in. At less than 500 feet, the right wing clipped the top of the tower. Moments later, the aircraft smashed into the ground beyond, erupting into flames. There were no survivors. Far Eastern Air Transport revised its approach procedures, requiring all Gold Coast arrivals to use instrument approaches when available, rather than visual approaches. Mandatory cross-checking of runway identifiers by both pilots before descent below 1,000 feet. Additional simulator training focused on runway misidentification scenarios, including airports with parallel or short secondary runways. Boeing also played a role. The company issued updated guidance to all 757 operators, stressing the risk of visual approach errors. Their bulletins recommended enhanced use of autopilot and flight director guidance until the correct runway was visually confirmed. Reinforcement of CRM, crew resource management, to make sure both pilots actively confirm the runway in use, not just the captain, and collaboration with airports to improve runway lighting and signage, making short general aviation strips easier to distinguish from main runways. At Gold Coast, the smaller runway 0624 was given clearer markings, lighting, and additional NOTAM warnings to alert incoming heavy aircraft.